Hello everyone, thank you for joining me. As February is coming to an end, I am getting very excited to plan my March reads. I have a fantastic stack in front of me. Let's take a look. International Women's Day and St. Patrick's Day are both in March, so I thought what better way to kick off March reading than a book by a female Irish writer. This is Small Things Like These by Keegan. I have only heard great things about this book. It is shortlisted for the Booker Prize. It is also an Oprah's Book Club choice. I've also heard many glowing reviews all over the internet. It is set in 1985 in a small Irish town during the weeks leading up to Christmas. I can see this being a quick binge read. I'm expecting a great story that is beautifully written. Definitely looking forward to it. I also got my hands on Yellowface by R.F. Kuang. Last year, I read the Poppy War trilogy and Babel. I did end up preferring Babel to the Poppy War trilogy. I thought it was more polished, a little bit more sophisticated in its storytelling. So I thought this author has great potential, and I was definitely looking forward to seeing more titles from her. I have heard that this book kind of takes a stab at the publishing industry itself. It is a story of plagiarism that's told from the villain's perspective. The protagonist, June Hayward, is a frustrated author, but her friend, Athena Liu, is very much a rising star in the publishing industry, so June was very jealous of Athena. However, Athena died of a freak accident, and she left behind a finished manuscript, so June decided to steal this manuscript and publish it under her name. Now, this publication did find its way onto the New York Times bestsellers list, but the evidence started surfacing that this was in fact a theft. So this story is very much not what I expected from this author, since that pretty much all of her previous publications were fantasies. The Poppy War is a fantasy trilogy with heavy references to Chinese mythology and history. Babel is more of a dark academia kind of fantasy. It has references to the power of language, and deeper meanings that are lost in translation can sometimes be weaponized. So I'm not really sure what to expect with this one, but I'm definitely excited to find out. I also picked up Circe by Madeline Miller. I think this is a retelling of the Odyssey from a female figure's perspective. Circe was born in the house of Helios. She discovers that she has the power of witchcraft. Zeus was threatened by this and banishes her to a deserted island. On her journey of exile, she crosses paths with many famous figures in mythology. I am actually not very familiar with mythology in general. I'm hoping that this will be a good introduction, and maybe it will pique my interest to read further into that genre. I always like to have a short story collection on hand. I just think that short stories are such a great way to experience a complete narrative, kind of with no strings attached. You get to see the world building, the character development, the setup, the dramatic climax, the conclusion, all in one sitting, and then you don't have to go to bed worrying about the characters that you just became attached to, or wondering about the cliffhanger that you can't even resolve until several days later. I read The Paper Menagerie by Ken Liu in January and Your Utopia by Bora Chung in February. So for March, I have another short story collection that's just called Girls' Adventure Stories from Long Ago. Now, I picked this book up from a library sale. It has no dust jacket, no synopsis. I don't know anything about it other than it's first published in 1968, and it is printed in Czechoslovakia. So, yeah, this probably would be a great adventure. This is an anthology of 7 stories written by 7 different authors, and I have never heard of any of them. This is also an illustrated book. Here's an example. Very beautiful illustrations. I'm sure I will find out more about these authors as I read, but girls and adventure just sound like a winning combination for March. As much as I am more than ready for spring, I feel like winter just doesn't want to leave. At time of recording, my backyard is still covered in about a foot of snow, and it's predicted to snow again this week. So since we can't change the weather, might as well embrace it. I saw this book randomly on the shelf at a secondhand bookstore. This is Jo Nesbo's The Snowman. And then I realized I actually haven't specifically chosen a snowy mood or a snowy setting for my January and February reads. So March, I guess, is the last chance for snowy reads for me. I don't know anything about this book or this author, but I did see that there were quite a few titles by the same author on the shelves at the bookstore. I think he's quite a big deal in the thriller, mystery, crime fiction genre. In this story, a boy discovers that his mother has disappeared, and the pink scarf that he gifted to her for Christmas was now worn by a snowman that appeared in their yard. And then the inspector of this case discovered that over the past decade, 11 women have vanished, all on the day of the first snow. This author is Norwegian, and this will be my first Nordic crime thriller read. I have heard that that's kind of a specific subgenre in the crime mystery thriller world. If I enjoy this one, I know exactly where to look on the shelves to pick up more from the same author. Continuing the cold, snowy mood, this is another title that I found at a library sale. It is White Fang by Jack London. This is the same author that wrote Call of the Wild, and I think this story is kind of hailed as the most famous dog story in the world. The protagonist meets a wolf dog who has been mistreated by human hands, and I think in this story they slowly discover affection and mutual companionship. This is kind of a no-brainer classics choice for a dog mom. I am looking forward to cuddling up with my dog Nala and having a furry, cozy read. So those are my reading picks for March. Lots of women's stories, an Irish story, and also some snowy winter tales. Please let me know what you think of my selection in the comments below, and definitely let me know what you are reading for March. Thank you so much for watching, and see you next time.